Hey, it's Jake Mace with JakeMace.com, and I was here in my backyard today, and I'm training a little bit, and I got to thinking about how do I train in a way where I'm going to be playing and performing at my best when it really counts. I just happen to have my friend here today, Jim Afremow. Jim's going to talk to us about this.
So one of the things to keep in mind is that you want to practice like you play and then play like you practice. Most of us, our energy, our intensity is a little bit too low in practice and then a little too high in competition or when things matter the most. One of the keys is when you get closer and closer to competition is practice to the max to play to the max. You're making practice a little bit more serious, but then when you get to the competition, almost think of it as a fancy practice.
Let's say somebody's going to have to go and do a fight, like an MMA type situation or a competition. What's one way they could bring some of that into practice? Do you have any tips for that?
I think part of that is, as they get closer to competition, is think less about technique, think less about mechanics, and just get into their performance so that so it's almost like simulation for the performance. So then when they get to the actual competition, it feels like been there, done that.
So almost treat the practice as the real deal.
Yes, and then when you get to the real deal, treat it like practice.
And then what about the nerves? If you're a martial artist and just doing martial arts for life, if you ever get to have to defend yourself, it could be nerve-wracking. Or if you have a big event coming up, I mean, that's super nerves.
And that's the thing, is you want to make practice at times as lifelike as you can, so that you get the nerves going. And part of that could be just getting your heart rate up, push-ups, sit-ups before you spar. Because a lot of times what we'll say to ourselves is pretend this is the real situation, but your body, that's not enough.
Exactly.
And so get your heart rate up, then pretend it's the real situation, and then it'll be more lifelike. So then when you're in that situation, your body knows what to do. But with nerves are normal. And so a lot of times when we're feeling nervous before we perform, or even in a real life situation where you got to defend yourself, that's your body getting ready to perform. Instead of thinking something wrong is going on when your body's activated like that, realize that that's how you want to feel. And so flow with that instead of trying to fight it or get rid of it, because you can't. And so when you really think about it, you can't perform your best if your heart rate is at resting. Nerves are good.
Yeah.
And so in sports psychology, we talk about butterflies are good, just get them to fly in formation instead of just kind of going everywhere.
Yeah, so you almost need that, almost like it's animalistic, like a fight or flight feeling that's going to make you stronger, faster, and perform better.
Yeah, it's energy for your system that's going to help you to sharpen your senses.
What do you think is a good way to kind of bring in those butterflies during practice?
You know, I think it could be mixing things up a little bit. So it might be trying to spar with someone that has a different style than you, or trying to work on something that you haven't worked on before, and maybe even filming it. That simulates what you actually want to kind of be like in the real situation.
That's some great tips. Cool. So we've got practice like you're going to perform, so that when you actually go to perform, it's just practice.
Yes, and that's actually how you become clutch, because when you look at Michael Jordan, considered the best basketball player ever, a point in practice, there was no difference during a scrimmage than in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, because he's letting nothing get in between him and his ultimate goal of competing his best. One of the mistakes I hear over and over again is when someone says this is just practice.
Yeah.
And almost like, kind of like, why are you working so hard? But if you look at it like practice and then try to get up for the big game, you've already lost. And usually what we do is, if we think of it that way, then usually we try to do something extra or special that we haven't worked on in prior practice, or we think we need a superhuman performance. Practice like you want to compete, compete like you want to practice, and then when you get to practice, then don't try to be better than yourself, be yourself. So a lot of times we talk about game face in sports. My motto is, you don't need a game face, you just need your face.
You used to say to me that you need a human performance,
not
a superhuman performance.
Yeah, because we think that we need to be perfect, and there's always margin for error. You just need your basic game if you've trained it the right way. And then also part of this too is visualization. So closing your eyes and really seeing and feeling yourself in different scenarios. So that helps the body kind of become familiar with whatever could happen. So it's kind of like always expecting the best, but you're prepared for everything.
Yeah.
Another, like a little add-on to that, is maybe even have people come and watch. You know, like football coaches that kind of understand what we're talking about. They might have an open practice where fans and spectators could come watch practice.
Maybe their mom.
Yeah, their mom or dad or
a coach or another player.
Yeah, or just regular fans could come watch. Or if it's a martial artist, it could be, their buddies. And so it kind of almost creates this a little bit like a competition atmosphere So then when you get to the real atmosphere, it's like it feels a little more familiar.
And you got a lot of this stuff in your book, The Champion's Mind.
Most of us settle for silver in our own lives. And what I mean by that is you want to stand on top of your own podium, your personal podium. And so our personal best is always our ultimate victory. And so the champion's mind, I think, is really important for all of us because, you know, I might not be as tall as Michael Jordan, who we were talking about earlier, or I might not have the wingspan of Michael Phelps in swimming, but there's no reason why I can't, you can't, any of us can't think like them. So we could all learn to think, train, and thrive like a champion.
In martial arts, maybe find somebody who's an inspiration for you and try to find out what their mental game is.
Absolutely. If they could think that way, we could think that way. And it just takes a little bit of practice. Mental skills are like physical skills, you know, in terms of visualization, positive self-talk, breathing techniques. These things we could learn just as well as anyone. A lot of it, to be honest, is underreacting to things that happen in life because we've all learned to be good overreactors to stress.
So
and
underreact.
Yeah. So one of the keys of a champion is they let things roll off their shoulders. They kind of go with what's going on, and they almost embrace it as a challenge rather than as a threat to avoid. So in our everyday lives, it's important to realize that when stuff pops up, and it will, to almost look at it as, okay, this is a challenge, and underreact emotionally, but then react intelligently. Because most of us try to avoid things in life that are uncomfortable, but to be a champion, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I'm gonna go practice and try to treat it like it's the real deal.
Sounds good.
What I'll do right now in the description below this video, I'm gonna have 2 links, one to Jim's website and one to Amazon, where you guys can order the book and get a copy for yourself. And there's these tips plus so much more.
It's my second book. A lot of contributions from Olympic champions and world-class athletes. So it's some of my own strategies, but some that have worked in the Olympic atmosphere.
That's great. Cool. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.